Welcome back to this morning's video. It's Monday morning at Gazweathers, which can mean only one thing. Yep, it's Europe Day. Every Monday at Gazweathers we have a look at the weather for the coming week across the European continent, and today is going to be no exception. Now, before I get on with the video, you know what I'm going to say. There's green keyword ads on our pages at gazweathers.com. If you roll your cursor over green keywords, they'll display ads, but if you click through the word, you'll go to the advertised website, besportinggazweathers.com. By doing that, the charts are coming from a wonderful German website called wettcentral.de. You can find the link to it on my links page, and I've had a request to extend the European out, to start extending it out to cover next weekend. So this is going to go on a little bit longer. I'm going to have a look at next weekend as well for today's European outlook. So let's get on with it all. We've got a lot to talk about. This is the stock tip pressure chart for today. High pressure is ridging in off the Atlantic into many western parts of Europe. We've got low pressure running up to the north, up around Scandinavia, and we've got another area of high pressure back towards the east of Europe and into western Russia. So a lot of anticyclonic influences really across many parts of the continent today. A bit of a trough of low pressure down across the east and the southeast of Europe. It's quite a cool scene for the central and western parts of the continent today. Ireland, Britain, much of Germany, France, the Low Countries, very much in the cool air, Denmark as well, and going up to Scandinavia also. It's much warmer in the east, and go down to the southeast, that's where the real heat is, and of course still the heat goes on through much of the Mediterranean, particularly again, as has been most of the summer, focused on Spain and Portugal. The convective potential today shows that the convection is going to be really for central parts of the continent and up towards the east. Not got much at all out in the west. The heavy rain today and thunderstorms is will be stretching through Germany, excuse me, through Germany in towards Poland and down in towards Austria and parts of Hungary as well. There could be some heavy thunderstorms around the Alpine regions of northern Italy and back in towards Switzerland. Not much for France and not much for Britain and Ireland. Some outbreaks of rain across the far north of Norway, down in towards Sweden as well. There could be some outbreaks of rain through into Finland, but much of Scandinavia actually not getting too much rain, and through the Mediterranean it's basically a dry scene right from west to east. Temperatures today show that heat is in the east and the southeast. For many central western areas, actually the temperatures are a little bit below where they should be. But in the east, temperatures could still be getting close to 100 Fahrenheit, 38 Celsius, around parts of the Balkans, for instance. Now, as we move through into the middle of the week, high pressure is ridging in off the Atlantic, so it's developing across many central parts of Europe. Once again, very settled scene, I think, as we go through into the middle of the week. It's warming up as well. The temperatures are picking up across much of France, and it's still very hot across Spain and Portugal. That heat is beginning to extend back in towards the south of England and in towards Germany as well. The coolest air is up over Scandinavia. It's still quite a hot scene in the southeast of Europe also. Convective potential shows that it's really stretching through Italy, across the Adriatic, in towards parts of the southern Balkans and through in towards Romania and Albania. Could be some thunderstorms there, and then stretching on up towards the far northeast and into parts of western Russia. Most of the continent dry through the middle of the week. Some rain still left over Norway and going down into the south of Sweden. But also I think there could be a few showery bits, pieces of rain got to Northern Ireland, but the bulk of the continent will be dry until we get to that sway from Italy through the Adriatic in towards southeast of Europe, around Balkans, and then going up towards northeastern parts of the continent and on into western Russia. There could be some thunderstorms in that line there, but most of the continent dry through the middle of the week. Warming up as well for France and Germany, the temperatures picking back up to mid to upper 20s, and for southern England. It's a little bit cooler actually in the east and the southeast, funnily enough, as we go through to the middle of the week. And the heat still goes on down across Spain and Portugal. Quite a cool scene up over Scandinavia. As we move through to the end of the week, that area of high pressure is moving off up to Scandinavia, and we've got a thundery area of low pressure developing around the British Isles. So you, excuse me, you get the idea that it's a very changeable week this week across much of the continent, particularly the west, with low pressure giving way to high pressure giving way to low pressure at the end of the week. So the high pressure's up over Scandinavia on Friday. We'll be warming up there. Still very warm across much of Central Europe, but starting to cool down in the west with that thundery area of low pressure. Still very hot through Spain and Portugal and going on through the Mediterranean. The heat not ending just yet in the Med. Convective potential through the middle of the week. We've got some for England and Wales, I think, in particular, possibly Ireland as well. Could be some thunderstorms across parts of France, down in towards Italy, maybe southern Germany as well, but there's not too much, actually, across many parts of the continent at the end of the week. Rainfall at the end of the week shows we've got thunderstorms breaking out across Ireland and the United Kingdom, and there could be some storms kicking off across southern parts of Germany, down in towards the Alps and through the mountainous areas of Italy. Still some storms left over around the Balkans, but again the bulk of the continent under high pressure, so very little rain at the end of the week. Temperatures show that we're very warm, if not hot, across much of France and Germany, southern England as well. That heat extends on in towards Poland and goes down in towards the southeast of Europe once again. That's where temperatures are peaking in the southeast of Europe, where they could get up to mid-30s, mid-90s Fahrenheit. And again, for central parts of Spain, we could well be up to around 38 degrees, 100 in Fahrenheit. Moving through to next weekend, so we'll have a quick look at next weekend, and it still shows that we've got high pressure over Scandinavia, that thundery area of low pressure around British Isles, also extending down into France, and maybe signs that pressure's weakening through these central parts of the continent as well. So the heat is going to be extending from the Mediterranean through into central parts of Europe. So going up towards Germany, it will be turning hot through next weekend potentially. Remember, this is a long way off, it's a week away, so this becomes more unreliable as we get through to next weekend. Also very hot across much of the southeast and in fact the whole of the Mediterranean, really quite warm. Conversely, Scandinavia, Britain, Ireland going down into western France will be a good deal cooler. Convective potential at the weekend is going to be really through Britain, down in towards the Low Countries, parts of Germany, France, and through into maybe central parts of the Mediterranean. Actually, we could be starting to kick off one or two thunderstorms there. Doesn't actually show it on the rainfall forecast, so maybe we won't realise the convective potential in the Med just yet. It's still a little bit too early, but for much longer those storms will start generating in the Med, but certainly through much of France, in towards the Low Countries, the south and west of Germany, and much of England and Wales, in fact the whole British Isles and Ireland, have got the risk of some really quite heavy showers or storms, maybe some longer spells of rain too. It's basically dry through the Med, and it's basically dry over Scandinavia and down into the east of Europe, with that area of high pressure. It's cooling off over the weekend for Britain, Ireland and France. It's still very warm, if not hot through Germany, be very humid as well. The core of the heat, though, again, is down in the southeast of Europe. Again, temperatures around the mid-30s, mid-90s Fahrenheit, possible around the Adriatic coast and on in towards the Balkans and through in towards Spain and Portugal. Actually, the temperatures could be starting to lower down just a little bit. So that's how it's looking. A changeable week to come, I think, this week across much of the continent. I think we could say it's quite changeable. We're going to start off with high pressure building in. It's going to settle things down nicely for the weekend as we get through to the end of the week, and next weekend, or the coming weekend, it is going to turn much more unsettled, particularly in central and western parts, with some heavy rain and thunderstorms. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.